So with all that stuff, we talk about, the old stuff that we have. The heart is a pump. It does different things, whatever it does. I kind of dispel those myths, and I hope that I clarified some things that you can do. But like I said at the beginning, it's all health and stress is physical, chemical, and emotional, and so is your health. We now live in a society that is filled with Google. We have more information in our pockets than our phone. That the technology in our phone is more power than it did when we sent men to the moon. And we have AI. We can go on chat and ask anything else, and we can get answers to just about everything. The better we refine it, because chat's wrong a lot, um, that the better that we get. And that's the same thing that's happening with our heart. Um, Now, Tesla early on said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Okay, what the hell does that mean? How does energy, frequency, and vibration have to do with the heart? What is non-local quantum event? And can we experience this in our lives today? Well, everything that we talked about thing was we call it Newtonian. We're talking about the heart as a pump and the muscles of moving things, and as if the heart was a machine, and it is a machine into a sense. But we tend to think of of the heart as just a mechanic thing. In 1922, or 1922, 2022, there was finally there in quantum physics, there's a thing called entanglement. It means if something was attached at one time, those energetic bonds are entangled with each other forever. And it kind of brought that up. And we knew this. They were doing studies about non-local. That means that you don't have to be where you are in time and place to have an event happen. So the hippies and the meditators and the people that are out into the universe, and I'm one of them that feels this way, is that you ever think about somebody and then all of a sudden they call, or you go, you know what, that's weird. I was just talking about that. These coincidences. And when these coincidences come at a time when it's much more than chance, you got to think that there's some connection. Um, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that works. So there was a study that was done. They took a person, they put them in a room, and they took a little piece of their DNA, and they took it in the next room. They separated it from the body, and they made a stimulus on the human being. They made them laugh and move around and had different motions. And at the very same time, in the other room, they would measure the DNA experiences. And they would notice that the DNA that came from that person was having the same reaction from the that the person was. Yet they were no longer connected. But at the exact same time when they were doing uh, a certain stimulus on the person, they would measure the DNA, and it had the same thing. He goes, "Wow, that's interesting." But they were in the next room, so while it was interesting, it didn't mean that much to it. Well, they decided to take it a little further, so they took a little piece of the DNA and they flew it across the country, and they stepped over there. So they got on the phone or Zoom or whatever they got on, and they did the same thing, and the exact same thing happened. And they went back over and they said, this is entanglement. This area is connected to the body. They don't have to be in time and place. They don't have to be touching. They don't have to make phone calls to each other. They don't have to make a plan together. They are forever connected from one to the other. And they had done a study, and I forget what year it was, but they took an atom, they split the atom, and they had two pieces of the atom, and they took an electron accelerator, and they shot it down a mile one way, and they took another piece and they shot it a mile the other way. And at a certain time, they flipped a switch that turned the rotation of one of the electrons going on, or one of the atoms going on. And at the exact same time, they measured the one now 2 miles away, because it's a mile from here, then another mile over here. And at the exact same time, it switched. And they call that, a non-local phenomenon. I mean, they weren't connected when they did this. And it was Einstein's original theory about talking about different scenarios and in different uh, levels of your life based on this. It was very heady and thing, but Einstein was a genius and he had mathematical models that suggested this, but he could never quite prove that. But it was in 2022, so just recently, we would constantly see this thing, and everybody's had that experience, like I said, of thinking of somebody and they call this in and they do that. But there was Alan Aspect, John Clauser, and Anton Zeliger. They did an experience and they won a Nobel Prize for actually proving this. So they finally had the hard evidence about these non-local times. Well, what the heck does that have to do with us in the heart? Well, this is to learn now that back in the day that we were talking about, the heart's a pump and it pumps 2,000 gallons a day and it pumps things out like that. And we would stop there. But as our science started expanding and their knowledge of that we are not just electrical beings and we're not just a bunch of levers and pulleys, but we have this energetic connection. Every cell and everything that we have around every atom, most of the space of things that we see is mostly empty space. It's just filled with energy put it together. So this energy that we're now able to measure and check out. Now we have microscopes that we can see things that we've never before. We're discovering universes within our cellular level. And as we're going through this, I want you to take back. Now we talked about entanglement, and the first thing that we talked about from an embryonic, from when the cell is first being built, you have all these cells that are kind of hanging out there. We have the hearts and the nerve and the bones and muscles, the sexual organs, the adrenal glands, kidneys, blood, the ducts to the different genitals, smooth muscles, joint and cartilage. These all come from the same level. So when the heart is going back over, and it can work both ways, as soon as the heart is feeling something, all these other things, because of the entanglement that they have, they're showing as true, just like, taking one DNA from one portion and add it to the other, they all shift at the same time. And it's interesting because a lot of the physiological phenomenons that we're talking about. And I'm a nerve guy, I'm a neuro guy. So like I like seeing everything happen from the heart. But a lot of the thing or from the brain, but a lot of the things that we know to be true don't really make sense because we know how fast the nerves fire, but a lot of times that our reaction to these things is much faster than that, and it could never be explained up until now. If everything's entangled and we have a sensation that's coming into one portion of the body, and then all these other things portion of the body have a simultaneous, not a domino effect, not one hits the other, hits the other, hits the other, but has a simultaneous reaction. That's how the body works together. So we try to break our bodies down in either figuring out sickness or figuring out health just by breaking down the sum of its part. We always seem to come up short. We get a better idea, and we maximize the thoughts we had at the time. But we have to look at these as non-local events, and we've got to step into the new science. We're going to be hearing a lot about quantum biology because of the way that we're recognized. We're going to have to change some of the textbooks that we've looked at, and the heart is one of the most exciting ones. So previously, I was talking about one of the things for longevity is we have to look at heart rate variability. How flexible is your heart in doing? So we would talk about heart rate before is about how many pumps did the heart make during a minute. And it would be 72 is a nice range that we're going to have. If we start exercising, we get our heart rate. Like I said, we want to visit our maximum heart rate up, and it might be 170 at that time when we're really pushing things out. Where the changes come, because health is physical, chemical, and emotional. You can't see emotions, but the emotions have a tie into this. Is it's the heart rate variability. It's these minor little changes in between the big hearts. It's one bar, one bar. What actually happens is in between this, the heart rate is fluttering a little bit different. And over here on the right, you can see when a heart is frustrated, you can see it looks agitated. It's up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Where there's something when you're feeling appreciation, when you're releasing hormones of gratitude and love and bonding and everything else, you can see these are pretty smooth, they're pretty regular. It's kind of nice. We want to see that quick adaptation. So we want to see how well the heart can move within those beats, but how it moves. It's just up and down. It's frustrating. If you look at frustrating and you just look at that, you go, it looks irregular and erratic, and it is. An appreciation and the good things that we're feeling are going to be associated with, you know, serotonin and relaxation and being around family and doing these other things that come from the heart that we never discovered before when we were just looking at the heart as a pump. It was just pumping the things. And if I get a monkey heart in there, I can last longer and we can do this. And I just got to remove the valve and put a stent in and doing these other things. And I'm not downplaying those things because cardiologists save lives every day. They're awesome. They're keeping our loved ones around longer. But for our health and our longevity, we've got to look at what else the heart is really doing. Then we get really hippie when we start coming back over to the heart's electromagnetic field. What the hell is that? Well, it's really interesting for centuries. Uh, some of the Eastern medicine would talk about chakras and how they moved. And chakra actually in Sanskrit means wheel. And they said there was the energy, these wheels of energy coming back over. Here in Western, when we're growing up, we're like, oh, those crazy people, they're so way far behind. They don't even know. They're talking about crazy stuff. Well, as it turns out, is now that we can take pictures of these things and we can measure electromagnetic fields and EEGs and EKGs and we can pick these things up with our technology. What we're doing, we're finding out is these damn things are right. And they're almost spot on to exactly what they were saying maybe thousands of years ago. And there's an electromagnetic field around the house, just like there is around a magnet. And the thing that happens over here with this magnet, you will have this electromagnetic field. And guess what happens to this electromagnetic field when you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling angry? It gets smaller. You get smaller. What happens when you're filled with joy and you're in love and you have gratitude and you see your kids playing and you get a Christmas puppy and it's showed to rate just raise up. In fact, they did measure a company called the Heart Math Institute measured these fields of the EKG versus the EEG and the electromagnetic thing. They found that the heart's electromagnetic field is 5,000 times more powerful than the brain's. Which brings us to another fact is that we start getting into is mirror neurons. What the hell does that have to do with the heart? Now, mirror neurons, we've known about these for a while, but they're part of the subconscious mind. And when I say subconscious and subconscious mind, I'm not talking about it that's in your brain. Your brain is not in your mind. Your mind is maybe the brain in action, but you have all this subconscious all over your body, and you have it a lot in your heart. A mirror neuron is a neuron that's set over there that will mimic things. So when you see somebody, and I'm going like this, and my head is down, my breath is shallow, and I'm moving like that. If I was to ask you how I was feeling, right away you would say I was sick, I was injured, I was depressed, or something. You would get an idea about how I was feeling. And this is where you would empathize with me. So, oh my God, what's wrong with him? And you feel bad on behalf of this person because you're feeling what they're feeling. Maybe not to the degree that they have, but this is also the same thing on how we get subconscious learning. Language, for one thing, is based on when a child is learning language, they learn it from uh, these mirror neurons. They start out with mama, dada, dog, eat, whatever it is. But the nuances of the word, you never sit down with your kid and say, all right, now this is what we say. So, I want to eat now. It's these filler words and things that they learn by mimicking you, the mirror neurons. Like that. Posture is also built up with this. People always come to me. I'm a chiropractor, so they come in. Oh, my posture, but my mom had bad posture, my dad had posture, and Aunt Beth had bad. But so it's just genetic. It's not genetic. It's subconsciously learned through mirror neurons. So you will subconsciously take on the posture of your primary caregiver or who you think your primary caregiver is through these mirror neurons. This is how rapport is developed. If you've ever ran into somebody and you've talked to them and you start talking, you will start to match and mirror their their tendencies, and even what will happen is even your heart rhythms, those electromagnetic fields will sync in the same vibration. I've done studies on this, and so you will start to feel rapport. If that rapport is strong enough and you're going back and forth and you're vibing with this person, this is where love comes from. And this is that subconscious. This is where I don't know. We're just connected. You see somebody like this, and this is how you kind of get attracted to someone or something, even. And with this being said, it even gets even more interesting with the heart. Is we have the mirror neurons. We have all this stuff going on. And there are more nerves that go from the heart to the brain than there are nerves that go from the brain to the heart. So again, I'm a neuro guy. I like to talk about things. The nervous system controls everything. It's the master system of the body. It and the body's a self-healing, self-regulating mechanism because of the brain and the way it does. And it's true the most part, but we're short-sighted in the role of the heart. It has a lot of these intuitions and things are going over. There's studies that'll show that the heart reacts before the brain is even aware of something, sometimes up to a second before. So when you get a feeling, or we even talk about this again, like a lot of the things that we've experienced in the past, and we've done this, and I got this feeling, and it wasn't right. I saw this man, and he just seemed creepy to me. He had this creepy vibe, and your heart rate goes up slightly, and it's warning you something. Or um, you there were studies what they were showing. They would measure the heart rate, they would measure the brain, and they would show uh, a picture of something. And before the brain could recognize the picture, the heart already reacted to the thing. So if it was a fearful picture, then the heart would come back over there and it would go do a heart rate pattern of fear or anxiety or stress or something along that line. If it was something happy, then the heart would go up, and it was consistently the heart would react before the body. So those people that actually start to get in tune with the heart and things like that, that your knowledge, your intuition, your awareness, your situational awareness. That I'm always teaching my girls um, to always have situational awareness. Look around at what's going on, be aware of your surroundings, and that just kind of keeps you safe. Everybody should do that because you never know what kind of creepos around the corner. But uh, if you get down there and you start to listen to your heart and you get more, without sounding too much like a tie-dye patchouli wearing kind of guy, is it just awareness of your heart and your environment and how you're feeling can do you a lot of good, because this proves that intuition is real. Now the next thing that is going, so what? We aware of things, we get these things going, but what's it really going on? Well, the heart has some local ability for as an endocrine organ. An endocrine organ was going to release hormones and the like. And one of the most powerful ones that we have is oxytocin. And oxytocin is the thing that makes women bond with their children. It makes causes them to lactate. It's a hormone that's released when we have social bonding and sexual arousal. We recover from stress. It just increases our happiness, and our brain is opened up. We have better cognitive function. It even helps with wound healing when we are in this great state and we can manifest this feeling from our heart and this this hormone that comes out, and it's ultimately a thing that makes you feel like when you're in love, when you're infatuated. If you remember your first love, the first love, they say you never get over your first love. It's because it's such a strong, it's probably, and I don't know this for sure myself, but I'm just ask the you guys, it's probably like that. They talk about your first hit of heroin, how it's just like an amazing thing, and you chase it and you chase it and you chase it, but you can never chase, you never get that high again. Well, oxytocin, your first love, it's your first experience with this overwhelming, I love this person, or I'm so bonded, I'm so happy being around you, and that love madness that goes out over there. But the heart is the only organ that we know, because most of it will come from the brain, but the heart has a local uh, release of oxytocin. So with all this other stuff, he goes, well, what do I get out of it? So, well, when your heart is better and you're in tune with your heart, you can actually control that release of oxytocin. Somebody goes in deep meditation or deep prayer or something like that, and you can train your body to go back over, and you're listening to your heart. We call it heart brain coherence. It swells up like a sexual organ that gets a, the heart will fill up with blood, and it's almost like your heart gets large, and it releases all this stuff, and you feel great, and you can be in tune with this stuff. So you imagine all this stuff, this feeling coming out, your heart doing really well. It's filled up. You have this electromagnetic field that just kind of builds up, and it's getting better and better. It's not just a pump. This is how you stay healthy for a long period of time, because now you're healthy, you're relaxing, you're enjoying life. Stress just kind of melts away because it's what we focus on. If we can take that time out just for a little while and start to engage that heart, all this stuff, not just the pump portion of about get this out, we have a lot of stuff that we can leverage off of this for our heart and our lungs and everything in our bodies and our love and how our mind. And again, stress is physical, chemical, and emotional. You don't see the emotions. You've got to feel the emotions, but you don't see the emotions, and we don't appreciate them enough. So when we're putting all this stuff together, we're taking the basic stuff that we learned in 1950 from, Marcus Welby, MD. Get right on the phone. We got a heart pumping problem over here. It's not pumping right. There's a heart attack. We've got to fix it. Stat. And that was the lesson that we learned. I always talk about the patchouli smelling, tie dye wearing hippies that are meditating over there, feeling the energy of the vibe and the universe, and grounding over in the back. And we're one with Earth. They're feeling that oxytocin. They're feeling all this stuff going on. They're having that experience about what they've always talked to. Like I said, for eons, millennial, we've been talking about that in Eastern medicine, and you feel that stuff. We have the heart, we have the thing that you're feeling, and enter in Einstein and Tesla and all those guys that in 2022 that talking about entanglement and quantum physics and quantum love and all this other stuff. They're proving the stuff. They're expanding on Marcus Welby, MD, over there from the 1950s, and they're explaining what's happening to the hippies when they're touching one with Earth, man, and they're on their ayahuasca trip and filling with love and joy and everything, and they're showing you the pathway. It's difficult pathway to kind of motor through, but they're feeling that stuff. So the heart that we just said just decades before was a pump, and the way to take care of it is just to not eat these things and eat these things and do this, like that very basic stuff. We're finding the heart is a complex, beautiful organ that happens, that we do the mechanic things, and it is a pump, and it is stuff, and we've got to take care of the pump of it, and we've got to feed it the right things. We know what it needs now better than ever, and it needs a bunch of the stuff. We want to stay hydrated. We want to eat our fats over there. They're not good. We're learning more. We know that the emotions have an effect on the heart, and that everything in that we're feeling these things. We want to engage in gratitude. We want to meditate. We want to learn about our keeps our heart and our mind in the same direction, that it is good for our physical health. And the vibrational stuff, our thoughts or feelings, our heart is an antenna, and we can attract things to our heart. We'll attract better people that you have. You ever notice when you're in a good mood and you're just feeling great? You ever have one of those great days, you trip over $100 bill and you come back up and everything seems to be going your way. That's vibrational stuff that's going on. And it's all coming and it's stemming from the heart. And each one of these is true. And there are people that will specialize in each one of these portions of the heart to do. And sometimes people think that you have to take a camp. I don't believe in that hippie stuff. That's just that's new age mumbo jumbo. I'm going to stick to the heart. Awesome. You're going to do really good with the heart. You're not going to be able to optimize your stuff. Or you get other people say, I don't want to exercise. If I just eat right, my heart will take care of itself. Do like that. You'll have the hippies that are going, I don't have to do anything. I don't eat. I just want to feel good. I'm going to meditate. And they're going to feel good, but they'll get blindsided by a bad pump. The vibrational stuff, that people that are too much in their heads, they're going like that. They're going to miss out on the emotional stuff, and they're going to wait for everything to get better. But when you put all these together and you open your mind up to each of these, you are going to be unbelievable and unstoppable when you have put all these things together. And ultimately, the decision is going to be yours. It can be hard to touch your maximum heart rate every day. It can be hard to fit in the perfect diet for everything you can do. It might be hard for you to meditate if you're addicted to stress and you don't want things to happen. It can be difficult for you to figure out what the hell is entanglement, and I don't understand. I'm not Einstein. Screw that. That can't be true. You can be of just disbelief. You could be just stuck in that it's just a pump and all this other stuff is mumbo jumbo because my grandfather just did this and he lived to 90 and he's like that. And it can be hard to open your mind. You just have to choose your hard. If it's hard, but the interesting thing is once you get into this stuff, then it becomes pretty easy. So I do the talks over here to like teach. And I guess the whole thing with wisdom is that, yeah, here's the new cutting edge stuff as we know it as today. Um, let's do something with it, because just information by itself is just information. But when you take it into action, you put it into your life, you get the benefit, then you get your wisdom. So those are the things that we talked about in the class, and I loved doing that, and it was awesome and it was fun. And as I started down over here, I was learning more and more. I know a bit about quantum physics. I know a little bit about meditation. I know I do that all myself. I know some stuff about nutrition, and I know stuff about the heart and physiology. When you put it all together and you just see how wonderful the bodies are made, and that science is catching up with the things that we do and the things that we've experienced. Like I said, thousands and thousands of years they've been talking about the feelings, and maybe they didn't have the words, and they definitely didn't have the studies for us, but they based on everything on results, and they were getting the results that they wanted at the time for the level of beliefs. And now, unfortunately, some people, their new religion is science, and true science is always evolving because it's always questioned. And that's why we got in trouble with all the dogma about, cholesterol and salt and saturated fat, because it was just dogma and we never questioned those things. That's first principles. Let's go back and question our first principles so that we can figure this thing out. So that's where we're at. I want to bring this to you. If you like this, again, click subscribe, share this out. If you got any questions, you feel free to contact me and we can do this stuff. If this is something you've been having difficulty with and you need some help with it, you can call us at the office, and I'll be glad to do our best to get you the best version of yourself. So I wanted to just share that with you, and I'll try to bring you even more interesting topics as we get floating around. So this is Dr. Bill Janishak, and this has been Conquering Stress Podcast. I'll see you next time.